Hiya, I'm Sparkles, and welcome to the video. This video was voted on the poll in my community tab in its place of the OC lore video. Now if you want to dictate which video I do next, please subscribe for more. Now the last time I turned something into a magical girl, I was a little disappointed in the lack of cohesion in the designs, as most magical girl groups have a certain rule that ties each design together, even when they're wearing very different outfits and colors. And I clearly went into the fruit as magical girl designs blind and came out pretty disappointed. So for these designs, I've implemented 3 rules. Rule number 1, each design must implement both the ears and the tails of the eeveelution. I won't have their human ears being shown because that's personally a big pet peeve of mine when a character has 2 sets of ears. Now rule number 2 is stick to the colors of the Pokemon, however some color variation is allowed, such as saturation and any new colors added. And finally, rule number 3, there must be a bow in the design no matter how big or small it is in the design. I think adding this final rule will make it more magical girl-like because of the classic magical girl bows and ruffles they all have. And with that, let's get into the magical girl designs. Now for Eevee, I wanted to go with the child magical girl trope, and the others were more like her mentor figures / big sisters that are brought together by destiny in this hypothetical magical girl show. For the pose, I wanted to have her arms wide out like she's mid-run to one of her big sisters. I gave her these big poofy pigtails to mimic Eevee's tail because I thought that was super cute, even though it's not an entirely original design choice for Eevee. I added some red among the brown because it got quite boring with no other colors except beige and brown and cream. I wanted the tights to have all the Eeveelution colors, but it clashed too hard, so candy cane colors it is. All in all, I went for the classic poofy magical girl dress. And here she is. Eevee was honestly the easiest one to design, so there isn't much I can say other than it's a very cute design. Now on to Flareon as a magical girl. Flareon gave me so much struggles in her design when I was creating concepts for her, until I watched Ninja OWOs turning Eeveelutions into human girls, which, if you haven't watched it, go check it out, it's really good. They went for a high glamour Flareon, so I decided to take some inspiration from that, while also adding my own ideas so it's not just their design I'm using. I gave her this more Rococo-esque skirt, as it's much more boxy than Eevee's circle skirt, to differentiate their design silhouettes more. I think the Rococo skirt helped give her this air of style and confidence she has. I made practically her whole outfit shiny to show how high glamour she is, and that's Flareon as a magical girl. Flareon is so pretty and really gives off an older sister who gives you really great self-confidence tips. And if I'm going to be honest, Flareon is probably my favorite design out of all the designs I made. I know we're peeking with the second design. Now on to Jolteon as a magical girl. Jolteon is, if I'm going to be honest, my least favorite looking eeveelution, so I definitely had my doubts about this design. However, I was pleasantly surprised how much I liked it. My one true attribute I knew I was going to give her was confident and smug. So I went for a more spiked punk look with her leather jacket and the black boots. I also really do like the lightning tights I gave her, it really adds to her design. I made sure the purple accent wasn't too overpowering to the yellow. I really like the way I drew her face. I live for the smugness and the little tooth sticking out. It's really an art trope guilty pleasure of mine. My one true gripe about the design is how the bow and tail blend together. Other than that, I'm super happy about this design. With that, we should move on to the next magical girl, Vaporeon. Vaporeon was one that wasn't too difficult, but at the same time was not a walk in the park. I wanted her to be very sporty, and so a skirt just didn't fit with the vision, despite skirts being a staple in the magical girl genre. Instead, I gave her these baggy pants with some cuts into the pants to represent scales on Vaporeon? I guess. I turned her armbands and bracelets to look like life buoys, though in hindsight they should have just been plain yellow, but I digress. I gave her some purple waist beads as well as some anklets for some visual flair. Her shoes were definitely the weakest link, next to the armbands and bracelets, because I really wanted them to mimic waves, but it just didn't work out. Now here is Vaporeon as a magical girl. Honestly, this is the weakest Eeveelution as a magical girl design because of all the unnecessary things I did to make her more magical girl adjacent. But other than those minor details, I think it turned out pretty decent. The next Eeveelution to turn into a magical girl is Espeon. Now this one has similar problems with Vaporeon, however I think it's better because I didn't add too many unneeded colors that Vaporeon had in her design. I wanted Espeon in pants because in my original vision was to have her in a long skirt, but it felt even more off as a magical girl design than without it, so pants it is. I gave her these long sleeves because I think it adds to the elegance Espeon has. Almost like she's trying to convince you that she's so much older and more mature than she is. Along with that, I gave her the same red gem on her forehead and on her hips like Vaporeon's waist beads. I have her in this half up, half down hairstyle because I think it adds to her silhouette more. And that's Espeon as a magical girl. I'm pretty happy with how Espeon looks, and despite the minor changes I would do if I were to design these characters again, but other than that, I'm quite happy with the final design. The next Eeveelution is Umbreon. Umbreon was so fun to design, especially adding the rings in her braids to include more of the rings Umbreon has on her Pokemon design. Really nice. I think out of all of them except Jolteon, she's the least classic magical girl-like and more like she belongs in Winx. But that's because I went for a sleek design that the Pokemon gave off to me. I gave her these bubble braids for Umbreon, which are really cute for her. If there's a proper name, please leave it in the comments for me. I'll try to pin it. I gave her the same thing I gave Espeon and had her wearing this head necklace thing to match. She gives off a very level-headed person in the group that helps ground others when they take more than they can chew. If I were to go back, I would have made her more classic magical girl-esque, but I do think it's very cute nonetheless. Glaceon was the next Eeveelution, and it's not my favorite, but I do love the colors and the idea of a figure skater magical girl. I gave her this really cute bodysuit with a skirt combo to resemble figure skaters, and even got some cute leg warmers for her. I also added some diamonds on her bodysuit for some visual interest. I have her hair in a tight bun, minus 2 strands to replicate the Glaceon Pokemon bangs because I'm contractually obligated to give her bangs. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules, Pokemon does. I have her expression being very determined and cold, but don't let that fool you. She's a sweetheart with an unfortunate resting bitch face. In the end, Glaceon has this really cool, mysterious aura to her, but when you meet her, she's an open book. And that's Glaceon as a magical girl. Up next was Leafeon, and as a kid, I never liked Leafeon because of the colors, but now I can truly see how pretty Leafeon's color palette is. Based on colors alone, Leafeon is my favorite, even compared to Sylveon, who is my favorite Eeveelution overall. Leafeon's skirt is intentionally formed into petals because nature. If I'm going to be honest, besides the petals and the leafy imagery, this is probably the most boring design-wise while being the most pretty color-wise. I think I went a little too into my comfort zone, but I don't think it's bad, just a tad bit basic. Though I did enjoy drawing her body type being a little chubby, that was certainly fun to do. Either way, Leafeon's design is gorgeous, if not a little bit basic. Finally, here's the literal Pokemon magical girl, which is the whole reason why this video is being made. Here's Sylveon. For this design, I went hard on the magical girl design. It was ridiculous how much detail I put into this. I did contemplate on giving Sylveon a suit, but then I decided to go for a classic magical girl look that you'd see in every early 2000s shoujo manga. Like Leafeon, I turned her skirt into a shape, that being a heart, and I put heart imagery everywhere. I have Sylveon doing the classic idol heart pose. Maybe that's her day job. Who knows? I was going to give Sylveon big twin tails, but I thought Sylveon with short hair would have been so much cuter. All in all, super cute. I'm super happy how well it turned out. Here is Sylveon as a magical girl. And here they all are. They look so cute together. I think the rules I made at the beginning of the video made the design so much more coherent and more of a team than a bunch of fashionable individuals. Comment below which Eeveelution as a magical girl was your favorite. I'd love to hear your thoughts about them. Thank you so much. If you watched all the way to the end, please consider liking the video and subscribing to support me and my artwork. Again, since this video was voted by you guys, you should subscribe to choose the next video I make. Now, until next time, stay cozy. Bye!